Hello everyone, my name is Proctor, and today we're going to be talking about how one can get started on a career path towards becoming a software engineer. So first, we need to define what software engineering is. It's basically a discipline for creating, managing, and sustaining software systems. So a software system could be like a application you have on your computer, or any type of web application like Google Docs and Google Slides, for example, or just anything that you have downloaded on your phone. And so basically what a software engineer does is they guarantee that software is dependable, it's efficient, and it meets the needs of the user. So your application serves some type of purpose, and the developer makes sure that that purpose is being served. And so in order to do this efficiently, you need to employ engineering principles. Um, So in order to get into this profession, some professional organizations you can use are IEEE, ACM, and also IASA. And we're about to go in more depth about what these fields are. And so first we're going to be talking about IEEE, which is basically a professional association dedicated to advancing technology. Um, It's been around for many, many years, and it's basically for like hardware, so like understanding the electrical components of a computer, and but there's also some aspects of it that do go into depth about software, how you can develop software that works well with the hardware. Um, so resources that can help for your career exist here. There's access to programs that allow growth. There's employment fairs that happen throughout the year, and also job boards um, that are available as well. There's opportunities for career advancements by obtaining qualifications and reading the technical publications that they push out in order to keep up to date with current affairs within this type of technology. Um, there's also an appreciation for people who are in this organization, so you can put it on your LinkedIn account that you've participated in this institution, or you went to work events, and it will look pretty good on your resume. This is a very high valued institution that exists. Um, and then industry perspectives, like what's going on currently, allows you to keep up with the latest trends and also professional views on these trends as well. The next organization we're going to talk about is ACM. This stands for the Association for Computing Machinery, and this one hits home because I was actually the chairman of this organization for Cameron University while I was obtaining my computer science degree. And so we would basically host events throughout the year that allowed people to network, learn more about programming and just computing in general. And it's a lot of fun. Allows you to connect with professionals by attending these events. There's also career resources that exist. Like before, we talked about the job boards. There's also career fairs um, for this club, and there's also tips on how you can complete a good resume that also exists here. Some of the professional development that occurs is you have access to online courses. There's certifications that exist that you can obtain here, and there's a whole lot of technical resources that talk about software engineering and but mainly a focus on computing. Um, you can receive recognition if you do well here. They always hand out awards throughout the year for people who've made good contributions to computing or software in general. Um, and so this can enhance your profile if you were to participate here. And just looking at the types of work that these people do that obtain these awards could also be beneficial, just so you have a good understanding of like what it takes to be successful um, in this field. Some of the another or the last professional organization we're going to talk about is IASA, which stands for the International Association for Software Architects. Um, Basically, what these people specialize in is just focus on the advancement and professional development of software architecture. Basically improving the quality of enterprise and technology architectures worldwide. So this is a global institution. There are resources for career development, just like before. You have mentorship programs that exist, so people that can provide guidance um, that'll basically have obtained what you have that you're trying to accomplish, which is to become a software engineer. And there's also job boards that exist here as well. There's opportunities for career advancements if you decide to take part in some type of specialized training and the certification programs that exist here. And just like before, all these institutions are very popular. And so like if you just say that you're a member of this organization or that you participated or you can post that you went to one of these events, it'll make you stand out as someone who's pretty ambitious, especially if you're new to the field of software engineering. So here we're going to talk about some volunteer opportunities that exist in this field. The first one is basically contributing to open source and GitHub projects. So first we need to define what open source is. It's basically computer software that is made freely available so that people can make changes and redistribute that software. And so it's a good skill to be able to contribute to an open source project by using a platform known as GitHub, which is a version control system. It's basically a platform for developers or for software engineers. And so it allows many different people to work on one coding project, and they all have access to the same version of that project. And eventually they can merge all of their changes together, and so then you have one final product. Okay, so this is kind of how developers or engineers work on a project at the same time. You're never going to be in the real world. You're never going to be working on a software system solely by yourself. You're going to be working with a team, and so just getting used to being able to contribute to these open source softwares could just get your foot wet or get your feet wet in terms of getting used to working and networking with other people and having good communication skills when trying to obtain the same goal, which is creating a good software product. And so like you don't necessarily have to contribute necessarily, but if you wanted to, that would be very beneficial. You could also just look at the code that other people have written and just as a reference to see like what it takes to build a good software product and just how software looks when many different people work on the exact same application. Um, the second opportunity or volunteer opportunity we're going to talk about is coding competitions. So um, basically, this can be used to improve your programming and problem-solving abilities. It's a list, or what a coding competition is a list of coding problems or problems that can be solved programmatically using some type of algorithm that you write in a programming language like C++ or C. Those are very popular. Um, and so it's very important to develop this skill because in the coding interview, or there's this thing for software engineers called the coding interview, which is an unavoidable thing in becoming a software engineer, is you have to basically show the hiring manager or a software development team lead that you're capable of solving complex problems using software. Um, and so it's good to just get practice by just participating in these competitions. Um, it also allows you to network with other people. When I was in the ACM club, we would host events for coding competitions, and it allowed us to meet other students who were um, basically trying to become software engineers or software developers, and just trying to improve their skills. Um, and you also work in teams, so being able to work in a group to solve a complex problem is very beneficial to have as well. Um, and so there's some career advantages for having this. If you were to win any of these competitions, it would look very impressive because coding competitions and the problems that are on coding competitions are not easy. Um, and so it basically presents that you're qualified and you know how to solve complex problems. using software. Now let's talk about the study requirements. What you need to study in order to become a software engineer. So usually I've been looking through Indeed, and I've noticed that the main thing that they want is someone with a bachelor's in computer science or software engineering. Um, it's almost like a necessity nowadays, even though you hear sometimes every once in a while you hear that people without degrees do become software engineers. It's just very unlikely. Like if you wanted to pursue this career, I highly recommend getting your CS degree. And so what you focus on in while obtaining your bachelor's is data structures, which is basically how you organize code in a format in which multiple people can understand it. So you write code that other people can work on easily. You learn about algorithms, which are just steps used to solve problems. You learn about software design, which is about software architecture, just creating the best way to create software. And you learn about programming languages like C, C++, Python, JavaScript. And so a computer is just a dumb machine, and in order for it to do useful stuff, it has to follow instructions. And so you give the computer instructions by using these programming languages. Um, an optional thing you can do is you can obtain your master's degree in software engineering or computer science. Um, Doing this, you'll be doing advanced coursework that can basically deepen your understanding of what is going on in the field right now, the most up-to-date information, like what you should be learning in order to be a good software engineer, or in order to really understand computer science. And the reason why I say this is optional is because you don't really see masters as a requirement in Indeed. But let's say that your undergraduate degree was in mathematics or accounting, and you're trying to go back to school. Instead of getting your bachelor's degree, it's probably better to just get your master's in software engineering or computer science. Um, that's highly recommended if you did decide to go that route. Some of the certifications that you can obtain that would be beneficial. One is called the Certified Software Development Professional, also known as the CSDP. This is presented by IEEE. Um, IEEE, which is the institute we talked about previously, and very useful if you're certified here. It just showcases that you know how to develop software pretty well. Another certification is AWS Certified Developer, which stands for Amazon Web Services. Um, Basically, nowadays you might hear a buzzword called cloud computing. That's basically when you're not using your own computer, you're using the internet to access an application. And so, like, a lot of companies do this because they don't want to have physical servers, they don't want to maintain these servers. So instead, they pay Amazon to host this application, and they basically just write the code and then deploy it to one of these servers. Um, and so there's a lot of tools that exist in AWS, and if you get certified, particularly in the developer side, you can easily get a job because a lot of companies use AWS for server hosting, things like that. So here we're going to talk about the career search information. How can one qualify for a job in software engineering? So let's go over a job description example that I had pulled from Indeed.com. So this job says software engineer. This is for a position as a software engineer at Candid Color Systems. And from what I researched, I think it's like a photography company. Um, and the salary, if you're an entry level, it's 75K. And if you're like a senior level, it would be 125,000. And so that's a pretty good salary, especially this is for a job in Oklahoma City, and so this is for the cost of living here in Oklahoma. This is really good. If you're living in Seattle or somewhere that's more expensive, you'd probably be making twice as much doing the same job. Some of the responsibilities that you're going to have here is you're going to be developing web APIs, console applications, Windows services, These are just basic things that all developers have to know, because you're going to be building these things so that people can be using them. And you have to know how to work in a team, according to standards and guidelines, I guess, that they have within this company. And so like the networking thing that we're talking about before should allow you, or the institutions that you can become a part of should help with learning how to work in a team and also contributing to the open source software that I had mentioned before. Um, you're also going to be responsible for developing applications to support manufacturing of photographic products. So that's basically, so you're going to be using your skills, your software development or software engineering skills to develop applications that basically support their agenda, which, as I said before, is a photography company. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the qualifications. So you need 1 to 4 years of experience, and so it doesn't specify if you need professional experience. I would argue that if you had attained a computer science degree or a software engineering bachelor's degree, that counts as experience because you're learning about programming. You're more than likely you're working on group projects where you have to work as a team in order to come up with software solutions, and so you can say, or you can argue that that it counts as experience, and you can put that on your resume. Um, you need solid skills in C# and .NET environments. If you're new to being a software developer, they probably won't require that you know C# immediately, even though it is a very popular language. If you know like Python or or JavaScript, for example, you would be able to easily learn C#. So they would just assume, okay, you're well versed in JavaScript, you can easily learn C#. Um, you also need to be proficient in developing GUI applications. So GUI stands for Graphical User Interface. So being able to create an interface in which people can easily interact with within a Windows environment is required here. And so during your undergrad, you'll most likely develop this skill, and because it's basically a requirement nowadays. You need a GUI system for people to interact with. Um, VS Code is a framework for developing the software, so if you were applying for this job, you would probably just try to work with Visual Studio just a little bit, just so you can get familiar with it. I believe like half the jobs use Visual Studio for their development, so just keep that in mind. Um, you can also perform other related duties as required and assigned. So like an example of that would be like documentation, documenting stuff, testing your own software changes that you had made. Um, Probably software engineering is 90% coding, 10% things like that. And you need to be able to work independently, um, and be able to prioritize tasks, so be able to manage your own time, because you're going to be working on complicated projects and probably context switching a lot between working on projects, testing, and things of that nature. So how can you be successful? Kind of just wrapping everything up. How can you be successful in software engineering is you work on projects that show you can apply the concepts you've learned in class to real-world issues. So you probably only need like 2 projects on your resume um, in which you worked in a team, you worked on a software application as a team, and you were also a huge contribution to that project as well. You also needed to network, so participating in those events or those networking events that I had mentioned before could be beneficial here, being able to connect with other people so that you can possibly advance your career. Or let's say your first job as a software engineer you didn't like, you can easily just hit up one of your friends and try to get a referral from them so that you can easily switch to a different company. And also try to find a mentor that can offer assistance and kind of direct your path in your professional journey. Someone who's gone through what you're going through, um, and just getting advice from them is very beneficial because they can give you like a blueprint of the steps you need to follow in order to become successful. Okay, and the last thing we're going to be talking about is the Christian worldview informing career path decisions. And so, being a Christian, you 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 kind of have a vocation as calling. There's a you sync your professional life with your passions and calling from God, and you kind of live life with a purpose. I think that a software engineering career is a very purposeful job because millions of people, potentially millions or thousands of people, could be using your application. And and these tools that you're making benefit people, they help people. And so I think it's very purposeful and it's very fulfilling career to be a part of. It's also, you have to also be ethical. So now I guess a real big buzzword is AI, artificial intelligence, and so it's basically algorithms and data models created by people, and so it's important that you're responsible, you're honest, and you have integrity. Um, these are important values within the Christian community, and they should apply to all aspects of life, including being a software engineer. And the last thing is service. You're providing a service to the world. You're making a positive difference in this world by using your skills to help people. Um, and so that is basically a good value to have. Just being able to use your skills for the good of the world, and and just it kind of basically wraps up everything. How um, doing things, doing a service to the world gives purpose in the job that you're doing. So thank you for listening. Like I said before, my name is Elijah Proctor, and here's my email if you'd like to contact me. And I hope that the information I provided can help you become a software engineer or start your journey to becoming a software engineer. Thank you.